The timeline theory. The moment you realize that something you clearly remember never officially happened, you enter a strange space, a kind of mental borderland. One part of you is trying to accept what the archive says. Another part refuses to surrender what you know in your bones to be true. This tension, between the inner record and the outer narrative, is where the timeline theory takes root. At the heart of this theory is the idea that the Mandela effect isn't about misremembering. It's about memory persistence across timeline divergence. It's not that you got the quote wrong, or the logo wrong, or the location wrong. It's that you're still carrying memory fragments from a version of reality that no longer exists here. You haven't misremembered. You've retained information from an adjacent strand of time. To understand how this is even possible, we need to look at the foundations of quantum theory. In classical physics, time is linear. It moves in one direction, forward. But in quantum mechanics, reality isn't so stable. Events exist in a state of superposition, a cloud of probability where multiple outcomes coexist until one is observed and solidified. It's only when consciousness interacts with the field that reality collapses into a definite state. This is known as the observer effect. But what happens when two or more realities collapse simultaneously, or in close proximity? What if divergent timelines begin to overlap, bleed, or merge, either naturally or through artificial manipulation? That's the basis of the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. This theory posits that every choice, every particle interaction, every micro-decision creates a branching pathway, resulting in countless parallel versions of Earth, all existing simultaneously but unseen to each other. And yet, if you accept that idea, then you also must accept the possibility that these realities are not completely sealed off, that under specific conditions, interference is possible, that timelines, like particles, may occasionally entangle, and that consciousness, which is not bound by space or time, may traverse or retain impressions from multiple quantum versions of reality. This is where the Mandela effect becomes more than a memory glitch. It becomes timeline leakage, a phenomena where people remain energetically, psychically, or subconsciously bonded to a version of the world they no longer inhabit. Some theorists call this quantum decoherence, a disruption in the clean separation between worlds. When outcomes that were supposed to split cleanly become unstable, it allows for crossover. And what bleeds through first? Memory, symbol, language, emotion. The core reference points that define one version of reality from another. This may sound like science fiction, but it's closer to mainstream physics than most realize. In 2019, physicists at the University of Oxford conducted mathematical modeling that supported the viability of many worlds theory. And quantum computers today, like those being developed at D-Wave Systems, are openly described by their engineers as tapping into parallel realities to solve problems. D-Wave founder Geordie Rose once famously said their machines pull answers from parallel universes, not metaphorically, but literally. So the technology already exists. The infrastructure is already in motion. And the moment these systems begin interacting with time, probability, and perception, the boundaries between timelines may begin to thin. Now let's take this further. What if a major global event, like the death of Nelson Mandela, served as a convergence point, a fixed node in the human collective timeline? And what if that node shifted? Think of time like a woven braid. Each strand is a version of history. Occasionally, those strands are pulled tighter, forming points of universal agreement, shared events, global narratives. We call those anchor points. But if one of those anchors is cut and retied on a different strand, if an event like Mandela's death is resynced to a later date, that alteration propagates outward like a ripple. The longer the time flows from that altered node, the more effects we begin to see. Minor distortions at first. A logo looks different. A quote no longer matches. A book title seems off. Then it expands. Geography seems subtly wrong. Bodies change. Social memory fractures. And those who were more psychically or emotionally attuned to the previous version begin to feel displaced. They become time migrants. Consciousnesses still remembering what the current timeline has deleted. And here's where things get even more uncomfortable. What if this kind of overlay didn't happen organically? What if it was triggered? This is where speculation shifts to events like the activation of the Large Hadron Collider at CERN in 2008 and its experiments in high-energy particle collisions. Some believe that smashing atoms together at near-light speeds in search of the Higgs boson may have triggered more than a scientific discovery. It may have ripped through the boundaries between timelines, creating an interference pattern that allowed one dominant reality to override another. Under this theory, the Mandela memory persists because it was real, in a timeline that got collapsed. And those who remember it are the survivors of that collapse, still encoded with fragments of the overwritten world. In that case, the Mandela effect isn't a curiosity. It's evidence. The residual memory from a quantum disaster. A scar left behind when two worlds tried to become one. What does that mean for you? It means that memory may be the last true proof of your original timeline. That what you remember isn't a glitch. It's a signature. A trace of your soul's path through the multiverse. And if you feel like this world isn't quite right, like something shifted when no one was looking, you're not alone. You may have noticed before others. You may be attuned to the tier. Or maybe you were one of the few who didn't update. In the next section, we'll explore why this matters beyond theory. Because it's not just about timelines. It's about memory itself, how it forms, who owns it, and whether we're now living in a world where consensus can overwrite experience, not just externally, but inside your own mind. Stay with me. Because the deeper we go, the more the past begins to feel like a moving target, and remembering may no longer be enough to prove what was. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas, 11x published author, and what you just watched was only a taste of what's inside the Truth series, where we go all the way down the rabbit hole. If you're the kind of person who's always asking bigger questions, who knows there's more to this world than what we've been told, then this is your invitation to the series that was built for you. Inside the Truth series, you'll get full access to 6 mind-blowing sub-series designed to wake up your highest intelligence and decode the matrix we live in. 1. Locate the truth. Learn how to actually research, not just what to search, but how to verify, cross-reference, read declassified files, and protect your own mind from weaponized misinformation. This is truth-seeking, decoded. 2. The Mandela effect. Are we shifting timelines? Why do so many people remember a different past? We break down the most bizarre, undeniable examples of reality glitches and what they tell us about consciousness and control. 3. Law is magic. Law is not what you think it is. From word spells to maritime law and hidden contracts, we uncover how legal systems use language like a wand and how to stop being tricked by fine print that binds you without consent. 4. Entertainment or ritual. The Hollywood and music industries are not just for entertainment. From Super Bowl rituals to Grammy stage symbolism, we decode what's really being shown, who it serves, and why mass consciousness is the target. 5. Decoding dystopia. Ever wondered why dystopian fiction feels prophetic? In this subseries, we decode popular films and books, Hunger Games, 1984, Black Mirror, to reveal the hidden blueprints and predictive programming behind the plot. 6. MK Ultra plus mind control programs. This one gets deep. From real MK Ultra documents to modern symbolism in media, we expose how mind control operates in plain sight and how to free yourself from manipulation you didn't even know was happening. And that's just the beginning. If this resonated with you, click the links below and join us inside the Full Truth series, because the more you know, the harder you are to control. This is your awakening. We don't just ask questions, we find answers. Let's go all the way down the rabbit hole together.